Dan, welcome. I don't hear you. You're muted. Classic. I think you're muted.
Classic
There you
problems.
go.
There we go.
Perfect. Actually, I think you might be the first person other than my camera problems. We've had almost no technical problems these past couple days, which has been amazing.
Yeah. So this last session is just going to be a quick little roundup after 6 hours of talks we've had now, spread over 2 days. So I mean, lots of interesting things. I guess what did you take away from it, Jeremy?
I it's going to take me a moment even to collect my thoughts. I'm over the past couple of years, I've definitely felt like what's the term where not future shock, but I'm a technologist. I've always been on the cutting edge of adoption,
Mhm.
and AI in particular feels like maybe the first thing where I didn't really want to be on the forefront of it. And I really wanted to see some of the chaos settle down, some best practices emerge, and people begin to use it. And
Was that
that's
because of understanding, or it was moving so fast? I saw a joke on LinkedIn the other day: is the only people that can keep up with AI are unemployed. The amount of
that's
hours in the day you need to keep up.
that's not necessarily a bad abstraction. It's definitely one of those cases where uh, being an early adopter has you've contributed to this machine, but now we're starting to see significant improvements in the meta aspects of understanding what these things can do for you. Because initially I looked at it and was like, it's a statistical predictor,
Mhm.
and I'd much rather use a traditional tool, right?
I think
However,
for me, the switch,
yeah,
before we get back, let me talk,
yeah,
was once you started to see tools. Like when it was
yeah.
just a text predictor, it was not interesting to me. And then when the whole tool and MCP stuff started to happen, it became clear, I think, at least for me, that this
And
is
your
the same
excitement
material.
was
Yeah.
it was contagious. You started showing some things that were possible, and
Mhm.
that had to be what 18 months ago or so.
It's been a while. Yeah.
And for me, it's the past 6 months that have really kicked off. I'm doing often multiple new projects a day, multiple apps. Just building and building, and the tools are getting better and better. So I feel empowered and less a bit like, oh, this is a revolution that's for the young or the unemployed, as you might say, Dan. Right? If you're too
Yeah.
busy to learn the new tools, and I love hearing from. We've got to actually have a question that we should take here that's relevant. I love hearing from operators who are saying, whether or not this produces any reduction in workforce, we must empower our employees
Mhm.
to be able to use the tools. And that means that some people will be tool builders, some people will be tool users. That has always been the case. That doesn't change. We
Mhm.
have a question from Natalia Cortez Barb. It says, it seems like eventually we're going to have less, better, more expensive employees. I'm not sure that, I mean, that feels like an assumption to me, but let's talk about that. Long term in rural WISP areas, how will we keep staff or train when this is such a novel field? And how do you grow talent? That's an amazing set of questions. And I want to add one more topic to that, which is we've been talking about this, and I've been talking with ISPs in general about this, is if we make this shift to where like tier one support is something that you now learn from the bot rather than something that you learn from
Mhm.
experience on the job and from
Over
the
a long
experience
period of time.
well
Yeah.
also that you're learning from the tier 2 and tier 3 from
Mhm.
their experience as like you escalate a problem to them because you can't figure it out, and now you've gotten a feedback loop on it and you grow. How do we train tier 2 and tier 3 if we don't have tier 1 anymore? So that's a bunch of questions, Dan, but I'd love to hear your thoughts on that whole set.
Yeah, I think anybody's prediction on what's going to happen with unemployment is probably not that useful at the moment because it's really hard to know. Like some people think that this is going to be just going to make everybody more productive and lift all boats. Other people think there's going to be mass unemployment. Some people think it's going to be mass unemployment and then it's going to lift all boats. And
We heard about that. We're saying the Industrial Revolution didn't. They had fewer people doing the old manual jobs, but
yeah.
new jobs were created.
So how that plays out, I don't know. But I do think the thing that you said there is interesting. Like and one of the things that Drew said with that too is maybe it more changes who we hire and the skills we hire for. Because like in your support example, if there is a bot that whatever AI agent, whatever it is that has some of that like hard won knowledge kind of trained into it or prompted into it or whatever that is, you don't need to hire the same people. You can hire people that are maybe a little more people focused, and that doesn't necessarily have to be a different number of people in your team, and that may just be the trend that we see everywhere. Um, and how to keep them, I don't know. There's two ways this goes, right? It's like there's, well, maybe there's a million ways in the
Yeah,
middle,
it's really
but
right.
if there's people may be doing more meaningful work if the AI bots and agents are taking more menial stuff away, and that could be a good thing. That could be really good for retentions and people's happiness. And if they get super smart and they take all jobs, then I guess we're all in trouble. So
I think I hinted at that as well. It's like people do search for meaning in their work, and
mhm.
we've already kind of shown that it's not necessarily replacing human judgment, but should be meaningful work. There is kind of a cautionary side of this too. If you hear writers like Cory Doctorow talking about what happens if you give this black box algorithm all the power and control, and then you put a human in a responsible position for making sure that mistakes don't get made, that feels like we're going to need some adjustment. I'm
It's
not
like someone
necessarily
just has to take responsibility, but not,
well,
but not actually, yeah, influence it the same way. Yeah,
it's that you're gonna get blamed, right? It's like
responsibility
there's
without the other side of it, whatever.
without the other side of it, without the
Yeah.
ability to really have a good feedback loop of when, when you're making the right decisions, and
Mhm.
so, that's definitely an nobody really dwelt on this too much. Nathan Stuck talked about it a little bit. Basically, you do have to own if you're gonna use these tools, you do have to own it,
Yep.
and I think
Yeah, the
that's true.
accountability belongs with the human.
But then what happens when we start giving those jobs to agents?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, back to the employee side of things, like, I think one of the things that Ian said is, on the first day was like, this is coming, right? Like, we don't get to choose, basically, that AI tools are coming and that they're gonna change how we work and how all companies work. We only get to choose how we use them and how we adapt to that. So I think that's probably, a really good message for everybody. Figure out what works and encourage people to get better at it. Many of the sessions today touched on workforce related things, like how to bring it into your team, how to motivate teams to use it, how to put guardrails around. All those things are important, and they all are changing incredibly fast right now. How fast the models are getting, how quickly all the APIs and tools are changing around. Some of that is going to be universal truths, and some of it will look very different in a year or 6 months.
That's for sure. It is. I always keep thinking of Through the Looking Glass, where they're on the chessboard and they have to keep running faster and faster just to stay in the same place.
Yeah.
That's kind of that future shock that if you don't adapt, I think there's a way to kind of reduce the concern and fear of those who are maybe more resistant to change. We talked about that a few times over these couple days, and
Take the
that
risk away.
me. Sorry.
Say take some of the risk away, like make it feel safer.
Right, and right now, particularly in the first couple of years of this revolution, the risk has not necessarily been countered by the costs, right? We know that external models are heavily subsidized right now. We know that eventually we're going to learn about the costs. Ryan Gruhl from NextLink talked about how they've been building their own tools and data centers to be able to internalize those costs and make sure that they're picking
Mhm,
the right jobs for that workload. I think that's really useful feedback that not everybody is getting today. Not
mhm,
everyone's going to be able to do it at that scale. So as we build tools, hopefully we can help make sure that we align the value, the ROI with the cost.
mhm.
I mean, maybe this is a good time to ask. Well, two things before I get to what we're doing at Preseam. I want to point out that we've thrown that future readiness survey link back up on the screen. Please fill that out if that's of interest to you. You will get some useful feedback from Ian's the system that he built there. And if you want to know what that's about, go back and watch that keynote session again from yesterday. Really worth catching. I enjoyed my conversation with Ian, as I've enjoyed the conversation with everybody. This is one of my favorite things to do. I don't have to prepare a deck, and I can just come and ask
Yeah.
questions and have substantive conversations. I've really enjoyed it. So with that,
Maybe one other
yeah,
thing we
yeah.
should touch on
Go
quickly
ahead,
too,
Dan.
like the workforce challenges are really important, right? It's people matter. We have to be able to bring them along and make them productive. But the other thing that kind of thread that I think weaved through everything was back to the quality of data. And that was like not just the network data, like kind of stuff we were talking about, but run books. Is your network documented? Is your support process documented? Like all those things that they were all best practices forever anyway.
But
And
they might have been implicit.
but they were implicit. Yeah, maybe it was almost like kind of good enough that it was in people's heads or partially written down. But once you have tools actually trying to like execute it, not in the instruction sense, but like kind of work on it, it really does force a level of accuracy and diligence that maybe we all should have had always
We should
anyway.
have, yeah. It just
So
it accelerates the pace at which we would have needed to do this, because now it's like, we don't have the luxury of training somebody over 6 months. We have to train this agent
well,
to do this in a week,
but
whatever it
it's
might be.
even, I mean, it's not just, it's a training thing. It's if there's nothing there to reason over, you're going to get garbage output. And if what's
Right.
there is wrong, you're going to get wrong output. So
And that's the
it
data
really
correctness
is
side.
just so much back to the process documentation, data quality, data normalization, like all that is, it's just, it's foundational to everything. So if you're looking at
We
where to
heard that off
start,
the
you
hop
could probably
yesterday.
start that without, like, you can have people on your team start working and documenting processes.
Right.
They don't have to know anything about AI.
Yeah.
It's just a good thing to do. You're going to need to use it anyway.
Exactly. Yeah, we heard that off the hop yesterday, which is the model is not the bottleneck, the organization's the bottleneck.
Mhm.
And we've talked both the data side and the procedure side. That's a really useful insight, Dan. And that
Mhm.
did kept we kept hearing that echoed
Yeah.
throughout as
Sure.
people were giving their
Mhm.
sharing their experiences, even without having nobody colluded on their presentations ahead of time. So really got a
Yeah,
broad sense
there
of
was no sharing, guys.
there was no sharing. We didn't tell anybody what to say. So
Yeah.
it's nice to hear some of these resonances that
Mhm.
we were already talking about, Dan.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Great. Anybody else have any questions you'd like to drop in the Q&A? But we'd
Um,
really like your feedback. This
yeah.
was like obviously the first time we've tried to run something like this. The format kind of being the slightly tighter 15-minute, 5-minute questions with two people. We're kind of going for some interactivity, not just a bunch of talking, like talking to slides and stuff. I mean, so I appreciate any feedback, and you can let us know if it was a good format, a bad format, too long, too short. Uh, all of that's very useful because I hope we're going to do another one of these again.
Oh, I hope so too. Yeah. Tell us your likes and dislikes. It's been really fun to get to know some new folks in the chat, as well
Mhm,
as see some familiar faces. As I said, I've just thoroughly enjoyed every minute of it, and
mhm.
it's been really great to be here. Dan, anything at Preseem that we should be talking about before we sign off?
Yeah, so I mean, obviously, we're spending some time in this area too, like everybody else. We have a lot of data that we've built up over years with all of the hundreds of ISPs we work with, and a big part of what we've always done is normalizing and cleaning that data so that can become actionable. So that's the foundation of what we're building, primarily at the beginning, putting that towards support use cases where we think we can have the biggest short term impact. But yeah, if you're interested at all in kind of what Preseem does, what data we have, and what we're going to build on top of that, beyond all the things that we already do of helping people operate proactively before AI was a thing anyway, which has always been our focus.
Right
Even though everybody's talking about proactive now,
there now,
that's been our company
we're
focus
singing
forever.
our tune. Yeah.
Yeah, but it was statistics before. It
Right.
wasn't AI. So yeah, happy to talk about that. Happy to brainstorm this all stuff. It's like super interesting. Jeremy and I and Scott and other people on the team. So if you're interested in talking, we just jump on a call and geeking out in a little bit's a lot of fun too. Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe just close on Matt said something
Oh
earlier
yeah.
that
Go ahead,
yesterday that I
Dan.
think is really interesting. Like just kind of on the way out, kind of drop the AI is a tool like any other to make your customers happier. So it's figure out how you can apply it to make your customers happier and your business better. And it's
I
it's
I,
it's
I heard that from more
a
than
tool,
just
it's a
Matt.
wonderful tool, but it is just a tool.
Yeah, I really did hear that from more than just Matt. Like, it really feels. Nobody said, "How can I use AI to make money?"
Mhm.
Maybe that's implicit, because if we don't make money, we can't stay alive. But they said, how can I make my business better, and how can I make my customers more happy? So that I believe is absolutely the right perspective to have. So
All right, thank you, everyone.
thanks, everybody. See you next time.